Well, you want to know the secret to helping any human being.
Your story is the secret to finding your purpose. Rise and shine, it's espresso time.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Grab your coffee and sip on today's message from Mel Robbins. Also, if you want to learn to have more confidence, check out my 254 Confidence series. It's free. The link is in the description below.
Everybody's problem comes down to one pattern you're repeating that you can't see. And if you're somebody that's watching this and you have no clue what you want, I'm going to say that's total bullshit. You might want to get honest with yourself. Like, instead of doing this bullshit, I don't want to be a millionaire, I want to do this. Do you really? Because you can make it happen. You actually can. Look at all the idiots that are making money. You can make money. Well, you want to know the secret to helping any human being. It's actually really simple. The secret is to ask somebody where they're in conflict internally. Like, what are the things that trigger you? What are the things that you complain about? What are the things that you're afraid of? That internal conflict holds the secret to solving everything and becoming a better person. And all you have to ask yourself, or ask somebody if you're coaching them, is what happened to you? Not what's wrong with you, but what happened to you that you believe you don't matter? What happened to you that you believe that you're not good enough? What happened to you that you believe that you're not worthy, or that you won't be a success?
Right.
And everybody has a story. And here's the interesting thing. You don't have to find the first one. Because what happens in life is something happens to you, whether you are a victim of abuse, or you simply are in a classroom and you raise your hand and you say the wrong answer in math class and everybody laughs. And then you're like, oh, my new strategy is I don't talk in class. My new strategy is I'm introverted and shy. That's my new strategy because I'm going to protect myself. And it works. It works because you don't raise your hand and then nobody laughs at you. But over time, you start to feel that sense of like, there's something more. Why am I not talking? Why is this? And so you start to have a conflict with that strategy. And so the thing that you'll see is that human beings repeat behavior. So if you ask somebody what happened to you that made you start to doubt yourself, they'll start to find 10 or 12 or 20 examples of it because it's everywhere. And when you finally start to address what happened, you can now have the self-awareness to create a new story, to start a new chapter, to see the old strategy and now consciously, you talk about consciously creating, consciously create a different response. That's what I do for people. I am helping people identify the internal conflicts that are making them miserable, that are ruining their relationships, that are destroying their self-esteem. And then once we highlight those, we pick a different strategy.
Right.
That's what we do. And, anybody can do it.
Your story is the secret to finding your purpose. The thing that you feel is holding you back and that you're afraid of is actually the thing that you need to lean into so that you can help other people. Your purpose in life comes from your pain, and you can either succumb to that pain and let it control you for life, or you can use that pain to change the world. So my biggest pain was being an entrepreneur and struggling and suffering and making $300 a month and owning 30% of a company and turning down extremely high paying jobs to go off and be an entrepreneur and live the entrepreneur life. And I was too embarrassed and ashamed to tell my friends that I was struggling and suffering and not making any money. And I hated myself. And I felt like a loser. I felt like I was adding no value. I felt like I was getting up every day and working and working and working the entire day and not seeing my friends and not doing any other stuff that I wanted to do because I was so focused on building my business and I wasn't getting results. Like nothing was happening every single day. And I was tired of living way below the poverty line. And I told my business partner that I quit. And that was the worst day of my life. That one day when I decided that I quit. Eventually, I woke up the next day and I said, I can't quit. I'd rather know and fail than not know. And I asked myself, who else had done this before? Who else had built a software company? How can I learn from that person and model their success to build my own company up? But I love helping entrepreneurs now because I struggled so much as an entrepreneur. That was my pain. As I travel, I'm on this tour, 90 days right now is my last stop here in Cleveland as I film this. As I travel, my favorite thing to do in each city is meet the people. I don't care about the sightseeing and the food and anything else to do in the city. My favorite thing to do is meet the people. When people ask me, what is your favorite city? I go, I don't know, I like the people. Because I struggled so much as an entrepreneur, I want to give back and help out other entrepreneurs. And so I have a process called Who, Why, How. And if you follow this process, it'll not only give you your purpose for life, but also give you the mechanics of how to use that to help other people. So step one is who. Who is your one word? It's the most important core value. What do you stand for as a human being? What core value do you have that is more important than the others? For me, it's belief. Amazing. I could believe in anybody. Believe is a giant word. Great. How can I narrow that down? Who am I going to believe in, right? So the next process is the why, the who, why, how. So who is believe? Why is your purpose comes from your pain. My pain was struggling as an entrepreneur, and so I want to help out other entrepreneurs. Your purpose in life, your why, will come from the most painful moment in your life. Your purpose is to help other people who are currently going through that thing that you struggled so intensely with. If you have the ability to help somebody who's currently going through that massive pain that you went through and you pull them out, it'll be euphoric for you. It'll fill you up on such a level that I can't explain. And so I could believe in anybody, but I want to believe in entrepreneurs more than anybody else because that's where I came from. Then you get to the how. Who, why, how. How is how did you come out of it? So I got out of my funk as an entrepreneur by modeling Bill Gates, right? I looked at how he started, how he made his first million, and applied those strategies to my business to start to grow. So fast forward 20 years later, it's what I'm still doing. What do I do with my YouTube channels? What do I do with my content? I model success and I bring the best to you. The strategy that saved my company is still now the thing that I teach to other entrepreneurs and what I still do for myself. And so however you got out of the hole that you're in, right? You may not feel like you're completely out of the hole, that's okay, but you're further ahead than you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. If you were to go back and talk to that person that you used to be 5 years ago, 10 years ago, what would you tell them? You can help that person. What did you do to get out of the hole you were in? Was it modeling success? Was it meditation? Was it running? Was it yoga? What was it? What was the thing? What was the thing that pulled you out? That is not some happenstance or some luck. That path that you took is a recipe, is something that you can teach other people of how they can get out of their hole as well. So you figure out your one word, your who. You figure out your why. Your purpose comes to your pain. Now you know what your most important core value is and who you want to help. And that's for life. Like I will not stop believing in entrepreneurs for life, ever. That's for life. So it's worth going through the exercise because you get to figure out the stuff that will serve you for the rest of your life. Then the how, because modeling success saved me, I now teach it to others. Whatever saved you, you can teach to others as well as a recipe. And that's a process that you can use. If you figure that out, your who, your why, your how, it'll help you for life. It'll help you turn the deepest, darkest, most painful moment that you don't want to look at, that you want to forget about, that was in the past, let's move on. It'll say, no, like this thing that you struggled with, it doesn't own you anymore. Now you own it. And you can use that to now save millions of people. The pain and suffering that I went through as an entrepreneur, I'm now using to help hundreds of millions of entrepreneurs who've watched this content. My purpose comes from my pain, so does yours, and I encourage you to go through the who, why, how process to figure out what you should be doing with your life.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through on your goals. 35%, that's not enough. That's not enough just to get motivated. Believe Nation, we're here, you're here. Today matters, you're an action taker. When you commit to a plan of action of when and how you're gonna follow through, when you write it down, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to somebody else, it jumps to 95% chance. From 30-something% to 95% chance of you following through. Believe Nation, we need to make this happen. So question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action specific for the next week. Put it down in the comments below and I'm gonna show on screen sometime next week to celebrate you.
So when you face a scary financial situation, and I have been there, I have been more than $800,000 in debt with liens on my house and a car that's about to be repossessed and a credit card and a banking card that had no money on it. I distinctly remember two very low moments One being standing at the local grocery store knowing there was no money in the account and handing the card over and just praying in that moment that somehow there would be some technical glitch and it would go through. And when it didn't, I remember feeling the just, shame of standing there with a pile of groceries and people lined up behind me. And I had an excuse ready. I kind of cocked my head and looked kind of confused and was like, well, that's strange because it just worked at the gas station. That was a lie. And then I said, I will be right back. I'm going to go out to my car and get my other credit card. And I walked out of there, got in that car and drove away. And the other one was when our daughter was doing town soccer and we did not have the money to pay the $125 registration fee. And I was too embarrassed to email and tell the coach. And so we just pulled her. It's awful when you are broke, and it's awful when you can't pay your bills. And it is a level of stress that is hard to describe unless you've experienced it. One of the things that will keep you in that death spiral is if you keep a mindset that says, I'm a bad person because of this. You may have made bad financial decisions, but that doesn't make you a bad person. So you have to separate the situation you're in from what you say about yourself as a person. I made tremendous mistakes financially. That's why we were in the situation we were in. My husband made bad mistakes. That's why we were in the situation we were in. Also, most entrepreneurial ventures fail. And so when you just look at the numbers, if you're going to go play a big game, the odds are you're going to fail. It doesn't mean you're a failure. That's the separation that you want to make. And so the key to moving forward is using this moment where you hit rock bottom. Because when you hit rock bottom, an interesting thing happens. You hit something solid when you hit the ground, and you also come in touch with something solid within yourself. You access that by having a reckoning with yourself and saying, all right, what am I responsible for? What am I going to learn from this? And what behaviors am I going to change? And here's the good news. There is so much financial education out there. There is so much information. Just make a commitment to yourself that you are going to learn how to get out of debt. You're going to follow an expert in financial literacy and in getting out of debt, and you're going to do exactly what they say because you're clearly not an expert in it. And you are going to watch the behaviors that got you in trouble in the first place, and you're going to watch them like a shark, and you're going to interrupt them. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use my 5-second rule to stop the behavior and redirect yourself and do absolutely everything that the experts tell you to do. Because you can get out of debt. You can save money. You can work 4 jobs if you have to. You can learn how to be responsible with money. And you're only going to do it if you use this moment as a way to have a reckoning with yourself. Admit what you're responsible for, do the work to figure yourself out, and follow the advice of the experts. That's the way I did it. That's the way you're going to do it too. We bought into this complete falsehood that at some point you're going to have the courage. At some point you're going to have the confidence. And it's total, frankly. Are we allowed to swear on this show?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's complete garbage. And so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true. Because the way that our minds are wired, and the fact about human beings is that we are not designed to do things that are uncomfortable or scary or difficult. Our brains are designed to protect us from those things because our brains are trying to keep us alive. And in order to change, in order to build a business, in order to be the best parent, the best spouse, to do all those things that you know you want to do with your life, with your work, with your dreams, you're going to have to do things that are difficult, uncertain, or scary, which sets up this problem for all of us. You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I know exactly why that is. Because I've studied this so much, because for me, one of the hardest things to figure out was, why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, and what we'll talk a lot about today, is that the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you. And the way that this all happens is it all starts with something super subtle that none of us ever catch. And that is with this habit that all of us have that nobody's talking about. We all have a habit of hesitating. We have an idea. You're sitting in a meeting. You have this incredible idea. And instead of just, saying it, you stop and you hesitate. Now, what none of us realize is that when you hesitate, just that moment, that micro moment, that small hesitation, it sends a stress signal to your brain. It wakes your brain up, and your brain all of a sudden goes, oh, wait a minute. Why is he hesitating? He didn't hesitate when he put on his killer spiky sneakers. He didn't hesitate with the really cool track pants. He didn't hesitate with the NASA t-shirt. Now he's hesitating to talk. Something must be up. So then your brain goes to work to protect you. It has a million different ways to protect you. One of them is called the spotlight effect. It's a known phenomenon where your brain magnifies risk. Why? To pull you away from something that it perceives to be a problem. And so you can truly trace every single problem or complaint in your life to silence and hesitation. Those are decisions. And what I do and what's changed my life is waking up and realizing that motivation's garbage. I'm never going to feel like doing the things that are tough or difficult or uncertain or scary or new. So I need to stop waiting until I feel like it. And number two, I am one decision away from a totally different marriage, a totally different life, a totally different job, a totally different income, a totally different relationship with my kids. Not like one decision, I'm divorcing you in the marriage example, but one decision on, you could be having a conversation with your spouse and you feel your emotions rise up, and within a tiny window, those emotions can take over and can impact how your marriage goes. Or you can learn how to take control of that micro moment and make a decision to act in a way that actually shifts your marriage. Right. Your life comes down to your decisions. And if you change your decisions, you will change everything.
I mean, when I was 22, right after I graduated from Dartmouth, I was so focused on making everyone happy that I almost chose the worst possible career for my personality. It's not a bad career, it just would have been horrendous for me. I was interested in the environment, so I decided, I'll go get a law degree, and then I'll go work in Washington. And I think maybe I'll work on environmental policy, and I'd probably end up in some cube farm. And everyone was thrilled with the plan. Everyone, it turns out, but me. So here I am, I'm driving a U-Haul across country to go to law school and to get a degree in environmental law. And something started to gnaw at me. And with every single mile that I drove, my thoughts were getting louder and doubts were starting to pour in. My gut was telling me, Mel, turn the U-Haul around. But the problem was that everything was already in place, right? I mean, I'm already in the U-Haul. The thing is already packed. I'm already 10 miles into my drive. The tuition had been paid for the first semester. I had signed a lease. I mean, I could not undo these things. Isn't that why it's so difficult for you to make changes in your life? Because you think that things can't be undone? The fact is, any excuse that you come up with, you can undo. Tuition can be reimbursed, apartments can be leased, Plan B can be invented. So I got up, I repacked that U-Haul, and I drove out of town. I let myself make a U-turn in life. If you ever find your gut battling your head, save yourself the drama. I guarantee you your gut is right. Guarantee you your excuses can be undone. And I guarantee you you can make a U-turn in your life right now if you want.
One night, Chris had gone to bed. I'd been struggling. We still had all the same problems. We still had a lien on the house, still facing bankruptcy, still fighting like crazy. I was still unemployed. They still hadn't figured out the solution yet for the business. And I was about to turn off the TV, and there on the TV, there was this rocket launching, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is it. I am going to launch myself out of bed like a rocket ship, like NASA right here had launched me out of that bed. And I'm going to move so fast that I don't think. I'm going to beat my brain. Now, here's a really interesting point. I talk a lot about your instincts and inner wisdom. And we can get into this a little bit later, but a lot of us talk about the fact that you have a gut feeling. But what all this research that I've done for the book and all the speaking that I do, what I've discovered that's fascinating is actually when you set goals, when you have an intention on something that you want to change about your life, your brain helps you. What it does is it opens up a checklist, and then your brain goes to work trying to remind you of that intention that you set. And it's really important to develop the skill, and I say that word purposefully, the skill of knowing how to hear that inner wisdom and that intention kicking in and leaning into it quickly. So for me, my brain saying, that's it, right there, move as fast as a rocket, Mel. I wanted to change my life. And I think most people that are miserable or that are really like dying to be great and dying to have more, we want to change. We want to live a better life. We want to create more for our families. We want to be happier. The desire is there. Again, it's about how do you go from knowledge to action. So the first thing in this story that's important is realizing that the answer was in me. And my mind was telling me, pay attention. It could have also been the bourbon. I had a couple of Manhattans that night. But anyway, the next morning, the alarm goes off, and I pretended NASA was there. It's the stupidest story. I literally went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I counted out loud, and then I stood up. And I'll never forget standing there in my bedroom. It was dark. It was cold. It was winter in Boston. And for the first time in 3 months, I had beaten my habit of hitting the snooze button. I couldn't believe it. And I thought, wait a minute. Counting backwards? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Well, the next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. The next morning I used it again and it worked. And then I started to notice something really interesting. There were moments all day long, just like that 5-second moment in bed, where I knew, knowledge, what I should do. And if I didn't move within 5 seconds, my brain would step in and talk me out of it. Every human being has a 5-second window. Might even be shorter for you. You have about a 5-second window in which you can move from idea to action before your brain kicks into full gear and sabotages any change in behavior. Because remember, your brain is wired to stop you from doing things that are uncomfortable or uncertain or scary. It's your job to learn how to move from those ideas that could change everything into acting on them.
What about when someone can't realize or identify their own negative feelings? Someone that has been conditioned to live in negative feelings and believes that that's normal. This question comes from Basso Anna Denegada.
It is your normal. You're right. It's a really, first of all, I'm sorry that that's been your experience of life, because that really stinks, and it doesn't have to be that way. But here's where I want you to go. What's interesting about what you said is the fact that these feelings are normal, okay? Normal just means you're used to them, but you don't have to live with them. So even though you're so used to these negative feelings and these feelings of doubt, you still don't like them. You still have the ability to stop that. So I want you to think of a moment in time when you were really happy. Like, it could be a memory from being little, it could be something that you dream of doing. And I want you to come up with something really specific about that moment, okay? Like, think about what you were wearing, or think about the blue sky. That is going to be what I call your anchor thought. Every time from this moment forward that you wake up or you find yourself drifting to those normal feelings of, I'm a loser, I'm worthless, I'm never going to find love. They may be things that you're used to thinking, but that doesn't matter, because you can change them. The second that you feel that, you've drifted over into that thought, and I keep coming over here because when you start using the rule, you're going to start to literally feel which part of your mind you're using. The worries kind of happen here. I want you to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I want you to insert this vision of yourself where you felt really good. And if you can't think of one, invent one. How would you feel if you were in love? How would you feel if you loved yourself? How would you feel if you did that thing that you're scared of, that you keep talking yourself out of? That's your anchor thought. Now, when you first start using the rule, particularly when you're breaking a habit of thinking negative thoughts, when you first start doing it, you may need to use the 5-second rule 73 times in one day. That's okay. I had to do it like that when I was first using the rule to cure myself of anxiety. When I would start to worry about anything, I'd start to worry about, my kids, or I'd start to worry about money, and I'd feel my thoughts drift, and then I'd start to feel my heart race. I would stabilize my thoughts, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'd activate my prefrontal cortex, lower the worries, on the other side, and then I would start to think about something that actually made me feel really calm or excited. That is the battle of your mind. And the other thing about normal that I just want to say is that the reason why it feels normal to doubt yourself and to have low self-worth is because you've thought this so long. It's become a pattern, just like chewing your nails becomes a pattern of behavior that you don't think about. Well, the cool thing is that based on science, you can actually change any pattern, even a thinking one. So use the 5-second rule. Every single time you catch yourself thinking the nasty stuff, and then activate your prefrontal cortex and force yourself to think something positive.
Every single morning, Monday through Fridays at 9 a.m., I host a live call-in radio show on Sirius Satellite Radio. It's called Make It Happen with Mel Robbins. And the thing that's been so crazy about that show is every single person that calls me on that show, they call in because they're feeling stuck in their lives, and they're resigned about their ability to change their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are nuts. I'm talking about successful people like you and me that just somehow got stuck in their lives. And I'm not talking about people that are looking for cheesy self-help. I'm talking about people that really want to figure out how to move themselves forward. And I find that so many of us think that our dreams are unreachable or unrealistic, and it's just so sad. I mean, people think that their dreams disappear. And if that's what you think, congratulations, you're officially stuck. And the truth is that our dreams are always there, and they don't ever give up on us. We give up on them. But here's the secret. If you just force yourself, and I mean force, because I know well none of you want to do anything about this, and I also know you're sitting there like, yeah, this self-help crap, this isn't for me. But if you just force yourself to take a couple small steps, there's always a surprise. There's always a surprise waiting if you take a step off the porch. So let's talk about Starbucks. Starbucks in 2008, very interesting thing happened, and many of you, if you were in the financial services market then, probably know this, that their net income decreased by about 28% that year. And at the time, they had 16,000 stores in 44 countries, and they had gone through this massive, explosive growth segment in terms of going public in, I think it was like 1992, they only had 125 stores, and now here we are, 2008, they've got 16,000. So what ends up happening is Howard Schultz, who was the chairman of the board, comes back in as the CEO. Very complex situation, right? You've got operations in 44 countries. You've got massive reduction in terms of the profits that you have. You've got the stock market and Wall Street screaming at you. You've got customers that are going to Dunkin' Donuts because there's a recession that's hitting. So what do? Well, he was very clear, again, back to the 2 rules. What do I stand for? Like, what am I doing? And what do I want the outcome to be? So he was very clear that what he stood for as a leader and what Starbucks should stand for is the Starbucks experience. He wanted to go back to the beginning and reintroduce people to the romance of having a cup of coffee. Because that's how Starbucks launched in the beginning, that he was traveling and was over in Italy and was like, God, why don't we have places like these great stops to have a little cup of coffee over in the United States? Boom, Starbucks, an idea, it's born, it's launched. So he decides he's going to do whatever he can to get the romance of having a cup of coffee back. In life,
in any situation, whether you're talking about growing your company, growing your bank account, getting in a relationship, getting out of a relationship, getting something done at the school system that your kids are going to on behalf of your kids, whatever it is that you're up to in life, this is the only question that you need to ask yourself. Well, what is it that I want? Because the truth of the matter is, if you can answer that, you can have it. So if it were easy to get what you wanted in life, Google would have already figured out an app. You would just type in, okay, I'm a student and I want to go from being a student to being successful. And Google would tell you, go to college, then you get your master's, then you land this killer job, and then you put in a bunch of FaceTime while you're checking Facebook. Then you get promoted to manager, and then you realize managing people kind of stinks, and then you keep climbing the corporate ladder. And then you start to wonder, well, how did I end up here? And then you went, well, is this what success looks like? You're like, no, I'm going to go to Jay Hilburn. That's what success looks like. So keep this in mind. If there's something that you want, like 7 people, or a trip to Africa, or you're going to make it to Mexico in the pink shirt, I'm looking at you again, sorry. I'm watching you. And rooting for you. Keep in mind this. Here you are. This is what you want. I spend a lot of time on lacrosse fields, although they don't really look like this. You tend to think that what you want, you just march right towards it. But if in sports you march right towards the goal, what happens? The defenders come in. And what the defenders are is it's your brain saying, ain't gonna happen. So the second you start moving toward that thing you want, be ready. You're gonna tell yourself you don't feel like it. You're gonna have to force yourself. It's happening. There's no way to get around it. So what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna basically get bounced around a lot. All over the place. And there are gonna be a lot of times that you feel like this was a really dumb idea to start this business because it's gonna get hard. And I wanna remind you about something. Unlike a sports field where there's an in and out of bounds, the great thing about life is there actually aren't any. And it's usually in those moments where you feel like you can't do it, that you're closer than ever to having everything that you wanted. And I wanted to show you this so that you keep it in mind, because I think a lot of times when you look back, it's the darkest moments where you realize that's what projected me forward. We live in the most amazing moment in time. So that thing that you have up here, whatever it may be, you want to use healthy eating to cure your diabetes, you want to figure out how to take care of the elders and start a new hospice center, you want to move to Africa and build a school, guess what? You could walk into a bookstore right now and buy at least 10 books written by credentialed experts on how the hell you do it. You could Google it, and you could probably find at least, 1,000 blogs documenting the step-by-step transformation that somebody else is already doing. You can find anybody online and cyberstalk them. You can just walk in their footsteps and let them, just use the science of drafting. Follow what everyone else has done, because somebody else is already doing it. So why don't you have what you want? When you have all the information that you need, you have the contacts that you need, there are probably free tools online that allow you to start a business or join a group or do whatever the heck you want. It all comes down to one word. Shut the front door, you know what I'm talking about? The F-bomb. It's everywhere. You hear it all the time, and I honestly don't understand what the appeal is of the word. I mean, you don't sound smart when you say it. And it's really not expressing how you really feel. It's sort of a cheap, shot to take. And of course, I'm talking about the word fine. How you doing? Oh, I'm fine. Oh, really? You are? Dragging around those extra 40 pounds? You're fine? Feeling like roommates with your spouse? And you're fine? You haven't had sex in 4 months? You're fine? Really? I don't think so. But see, here's the deal with saying that you're fine. It's actually genius. Because if you're fine, you don't have to do anything about it. But when you think about this word fine, it just makes me so angry. I mean, here we are at a conference about being alive, and you're going to describe the experience of being alive as fine? What a flimsy and feeble word. If you're crappy, say you're crappy. If you're amazing, say you're amazing. Tell the truth. And this not only goes for the social construct, oh, I don't want to burden you with the fact that I hate my life, or, hey, I'm amazing, but that would make you feel terrible. The bigger issue with fine is that you say it to yourself. That thing that you want, I guarantee you, you've convinced yourself that you're fine not having it. That's why you're not pushing yourself. It's the areas in your life where you've given up, where you've said, oh, I'm fine. My mom's never going to change, so I just can't have that conversation. I'm fine. We got to wait until the kids graduate before we get divorced, so we'll just sleep in separate bedrooms. I'm fine. I lost my job. I can barely pay my bills, but whatever. It's hard to get a job. And, one of the reasons why this word also just annoys me so much is scientists have calculated, oh yeah, I'm coming down. Scientists have calculated the odds of you being born. That's right. They've crunched the numbers. I see you up there. They have crunched the numbers on you. Yeah, no, you guys standing up, you want to sit down for this. They've crunched the numbers on you being born. And they took into account all of the wars and the natural disasters and the dinosaurs and everything else. And do you realize that the odds of you, yeah, right here, put your computer away, stand up for me, Doug. So the odds of Doug here, turn around, say hi to everybody. The odds, of Doug being born at the moment in time he was born, to the parents you were born to, with the DNA structure that you have, 1 in 400 trillion. Isn't that amazing?
I'm so lucky.
Yes. You're not fine, you're fantastic. You have life-changing ideas for a reason, and it's not to torture yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Christine was right when she said all of you could be on stage, because all of you, we're all in this category. 1 in 400 trillion. All day long, you have ideas that could change your life, that could change the world, that could change the way that you feel. And what do you do with them? I have a pad of Postit notes. Yes, Postit notes next to my sink in my bathroom. Why? Well, because after I brush my teeth, haven't looked at my phone yet, I take a Postit note out and I write the 3 things I need to focus on today. And then you know what I do with it? I stick it on the back of my phone. Now, why would I do that? Because I have my phone with me all the time. And so if it's on the back of my phone, I'm going to get a visual cue to remind me and keep it top of mind so I stay focused on it. How is it that you see something larger for yourself? Well, the first thing that you have to do, the very first thing, is you have to get out of the weeds. Successful people are all in the weeds. The busier you are, the more you have going on. You know that old saying that everybody says, don't work in your business, work on your business? But we are all in the weeds. And the key to seeing something larger for yourself is getting out of the weeds. I mean, don't you feel like this dude? I know I do. You wake up, brush your teeth, make the coffee, feed the kids, pack the lunches, put them on the bus, get in the car, text your friends, get some coffee, arrive at work, feign interest, answer emails, update Facebook, make cold calls, avoid the meeting, look busy, crunch some numbers, update Facebook, get in the car, go to carpool, feed your kids, feed the dog, check email, update Facebook, kiss your husband, climb into bed, fool around. Are you kidding? I'm exhausted. Turn off the lights. I live in a 2-household, thank you.
entrepreneurial family. I'm exhausted. I'm busy. How the heck am I going to see something larger from my life when I have a business to run, when I have kids to take care of? Well, you have to get out of the weeds. And you know, the truth is there's some good news. And the good news is I heard about this pill that's in development. Yeah, I know, I'm waiting for it too. And you know, the problem though is I think that they're gonna have naming problems, forget it all. It seems like a kind of a bad name for a pill, even though I might take it now and again. So I thought before we jump into how you see something larger, I need to yank you out of the weeds first. So I'm gonna give you my advice for what I do in order to keep myself out of the weeds. And you guys don't need remedial personal development. I got that. I just feel obligated to give you some actionable things to do. Because if you don't plan your week out before the week starts, you're gonna be in reactive mode. You're gonna be running around. You're gonna be chasing down the biggest thing that's happening in your life. You're gonna be constantly responding. This is one of the most important things that you can do. If you're not married, if you're not living with somebody, do it for yourself. Plan your week. You know this already. The first thing that you need to do is you define what success looks like for you. And it's not $10 million in the bank. I'm sorry. It needs to be something bigger, a bigger purpose.
What if somebody says it is $10 million in the bank to me?
Well, you know, I mean, the problem with saying it's $10 million in the bank is that when you finally get to the $10 million, typically those people feel pretty bankrupt because
and that's what you're seeing, and that's what you're seeing in your work
absolutely,
also. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you know, once you define it for yourself, I think the key is how do you then trick yourself, Donnie, into feeling successful every single day? You know, I've got a daughter that plays lacrosse. She's 9 years old. If I said to her, I'm only cheering for you when you score a goal, how do you think she'd feel during the game? She wouldn't play very well, that's for sure. So you've got to figure out how do you cheer for yourself and how do you feel successful while you're playing the game? Because it's not all about the goal.
Okay, are there any tools to cheer for myself? Give me today. I want to feel better inside. I'm at home. I'm watching. I'm either somebody that's got the millions of dollars and it's not feeling good, or I don't have those millions of dollars and it's not feeling good. All right, and I'm worried about the economy around me. And so give me the cheering section.
What you need to do. What you need to do is you have to decide, okay, this is where I'm going. I'm going for the big vision of what success is. Now do a head fake with yourself and say, okay, let's just say that I'm actually already there. I have the $10 million in the bank. I'm, you know, saving the world, whatever it is that your version of success is. What are 3 things that I would change about this day, today? How would I live it today if I already had all that stuff? What time would I wake up? Who's my first phone call to? What did I eat for breakfast? Start living as that success vision now. Drive. That's this puppy right here. This is what you want. This is your prefrontal cortex. Drive is the mode where you're in charge of your thoughts. Okay? It's where you are fully awake, you are present, and you are driving your thoughts and actions. When you're doing that, your prefrontal cortex is active. The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain that you need in order to learn new behavior, in order to do something difficult, in order to do something uncertain, in order to do strategic thinking. So I'm going to give you an example. So I'm a righty. If I were to try to write with my left hand, you know, like Lewis is going to torture me and tie my hand behind my back and make me like do this, I could do it. It would look like I was writing with my foot. And if Lewis came up to me and said, hey, Mel, you want some bulletproof coffee? I'd be like, Lewis, I'm trying to concentrate. I can't do this. My prefrontal cortex would be el fuego because it is firing on all cylinders to communicate to my hand new behavior. So the thing that's cool about that is that you can use a simple trick. The moment you feel yourself hesitate, the moment you've got one of those moments where you know that you need to, this is that moment that Lewis talks to you about where you got to step outside of your comfort zone and you've got to lean into your passion and you've got to really take some risks and you got to feel the fear and you got to do it anyway. That's the moment where you just woke up and now you got a decision to make. Are you going to drift back into the habits, or are you going to awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward and focus and do something new?
If you want another amazing Mel Robbins video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
And so I think the key to having a morning routine, and morning routines are critical.
That's the problem with achievers.
I think the journey of your whole life is figuring out